and welcome back to Stranded D, welcome back to Pacific Paradise, and welcome back to this map editor we find ourselves in. Last time we were working on the beaches, making them big and smooth and beautiful, but this time, well, we need to add some trees and start dressing the island. But before that, we are on the PC version of the game, the Steam version of the game, and for anyone who's new here, I'm just going to quickly run through the controls. We are using W to go forward, S to go back, A to go left, D to go right, Q to go down, E to go up. We are pushing and holding the right mouse button. The right mouse button will allow us to pan the camera around. That is good, but wait, there's more. Yes, as we go down to the beach and grab the life raft. We got some more controls for objects. So if you press R, that rotates. T transforms, C copies or clones, delete deletes, and if we have something selected and press F, that focuses. The larger the object, the further away the camera will snap when you focus on an object, so we'll just get rid of that. Yes please. There are some cautionary notes to keep in mind though. If we go to terrain, we have these three brushes. We have smooth height, set height, and raise and lower height. The amount slider as well as the size slider is inherited between each of the brushes. But wait, what does that mean? Well, if you have the amount slider cranked all the way up and you're smoothing the outside of your beach, and then you decide, oh, I want to just level off a little bump, so I hit lower and then left click now, the amount slider is cranked all the way up. I would punch a hole straight through to the center of the earth where the dinosaurs live and be very sad because there is no undo. Make sure the amount slider is always cranked all the way down before you finish with the brush. And save often, because if you do make a mistake and you punch a hole through your island, the easiest way to rectify that is to exit the menu and just reload the island. Just jump back to the last save that you've done. That is the easiest way. Anyway, we have objects selected, so we have a little cursor. That way, if we have the brush, we might accidentally left click. But if we have objects selected, we can't click on anything, which is nice. Anyway, we have a caldera, we have a volcano, we have a lava tunnel, and we have this thing here. So there is a lava tunnel under here. I would like this to be the entrance and exit to the caldera, but there is something you should note in the game, that the player can scale a very, very, very steep slope. So the player can Morrowind their way all the way up here, even though you think, they shouldn't be able to. No, they can probably just walk up the inside of the caldera, but we're still going to be nice and make an entrance and an exit. We might not do that right now, though. We are looking at scale, and this is a giant island. It's a lot bigger than you think it might be. So we have the boat in here for scale. But the other thing that we can grab for scale, if we go to structures, we have the door. The Adventures of Mr. Door. And you think, well, it's not that big. Until you get out Mr. Door. Mr. Door here is now, I'm just moving it around, it's probably about 4 pixels on your screen. If you push and hold the left mouse button as you drag something out of the toolbox, it will just follow terrain. And the door is about the size of the player because the player has to go through a door. And that is a useful way of gauging scale. This place is absolutely enormous. Which gives us a bit of a problem. How do we dress an island like this? There's going to be so many objects on this island. It's going to be absolutely, well, an absolute nightmare if we don't do this properly. If you put too many objects on an island, you might slow someone's computer down. So things to keep in mind, not a huge amount of physics objects. Physics objects will absolutely tank someone's FPS. So if you throw a bunch of stones on the island, lanterns and all that sort of thing, crabs, animals. Yeah, just fill the beach with crabs. The whole island is going to slow right down when you get to it in game. So what we're going to do is we created this little thing last time. It is a tree, is a rock, it is, we've got some plants going on here, and we have a little jumping bridge. Now basically the only way you should be able to get on here, I think, is straight across this bridge here. So it's going to be very difficult. You might still be able to mantle up, otherwise no. How tall is this? Good. Well, Adventures of Mr. Door. If we get Mr. Door out, we can see that in fact the the bridge is much taller than the door itself. In fact, at this point, at least twice the height of the player. So the player is not going to jump through here and bang their head on it. We have another thing to keep in mind. Even though the island is absolutely massive, if we point the camera at the sky, go to terrain and hit the cog, display ocean, and then we look down. Oh, that is a very steep drop into the abyss. Yes, much like many volcanoes in oceans around the world, there isn't actually that much of an apron, like a beach around the outside. I mean, this is very wide, but the actual apron between beach and abyss is not that great, and there is a bit of a steep drop. And I was worried about this, but thinking about it, no, you get places like Hawaii where you get the beaches just drop straight down to the ocean floor in the Pacific, and it's like, yeah, because it's essentially a mountain in the ocean. So I'm not too worried about that. What I am worried about is how do you make something that is essentially a giant circle feel like some place that you'd want to spend time? So what we'll do is we will hit terrain. We have the cog, display ocean back on. That's good. We are going to go to objects. We are going to close structures, and we're going to go to trees to start with. And we have our pine trees: pine tree 1, pine tree 2, pine tree 3. The height order is 3, 1, 2. So pine tree 2 is the tallest, whereas pine tree 3 is the shortest of the pine trees. That is something to keep in mind. So as we have these two pine trees here, we are going to use these to our advantage, or at least this knowledge to our advantage. And yes, you can only get 5 of each, so we can only have 15 pine trees. And yes, pine trees are something that grows in the Pacific. These specifically are Cook pines, named after Captain Cook. So what we're going to do is delete the smaller one, and we are just going to hop up here to basically, I think, the tallest point on the island. Yeah, and what I want to see is the very top of the tree. So that's exactly what I can see. What we'll do is we'll put the tall trees on the bottom and the shorter trees on the upper slopes, and that means that if we were to put tall trees on the upper slopes, we would ruin the effect, maybe? I don't know. I mean, we can still have trees up here. That's not a problem. But if we put the very tall ones up here, there we go. It makes this whole thing not feel as tall as it is. It's like, oh, there's something taller than us here. So big ones on the bottom, smaller ones on the top, and it gives you a greater sense of height and scale. That actually doesn't look too bad there, I'm going to be honest. We'll revisit this, because what I want is this to be a terraced slope, and I want this this little area here to be sort of an old landslide that the player can then use to scale up. So we need to advertise to the player that this is a place that you should be walking up. We can't force them to do anything, but let's just make things look pretty. As far as looking pretty goes, what I'm going to do is move this into this hollow, and then I'm going to drag the tree down until the smaller of the branches are kind of, yeah, okay. I'm just going to make sure they're not clipping through anything. That's no problem. Hit R to rotate, grab the green toggle, just give it a little spin. Why do you do that? Because if you just, okay, so if you just, terrain objects, so we have nothing selected. If you just drag stuff out of the toolbox, it just looks like you've cloned everything. So it just looks like you've clone stamped or you've brushed. In fact, we're backing the camera into the island. That's not good. But everything looks the same. If you rotate it just a little bit, the tops of the trees suddenly start to look different, because the models are not perfectly vertical. This central trunk sort of wavers backwards and forwards. The position of the branches aren't the same. So give it a little spin. It's just polite. Anything you get out, you can also angle the trees slightly as well, if you should so wish. You can do that with these. You can't do this with the palm trees. So what we'll do is we'll probably actually do that. Give it a little turn. Right, terrain and objects, so nothing selected. We need to play around with some rocks. Okay, rocks. I'm afraid these are going to be kind of the bread and butter of our build. Now, we have to make sure that we don't jam them directly into the ground, so there's only a little bit poking out. Because if we were to have it just a little bit poking out, remember that all of this has grass texture on it. So if we were to do that, you'd end up with a bunch of sprites poking through, and it would look a little bit weird. So we'll just move these around until we have something that we quite like the look of. And the other thing is, if you are putting something on a steep slope, make sure you don't pinch the player. So if we were to create like a foot trap for the player, so what I want is to rotate this to a point where if a player were to drop down, they could slide off of it. Not drop down and then get stuck and not be able to jump out. Because that would be bad. It would not be good. So yeah, we'll do this. We'll just rotate these around. T to transform, pull them around a little bit. And then we can put some plants in here, because we got to bring our own plants. We've got to bring our own nursery. Normally I would do the plants and things later on, but... Well, suddenly... No, we would do the trees later on. We would do the plants now. So we'll just do this. And immediately, it's just two rocks. Two rocks and a plant. But I like putting plants with rocks. It just seems like the seeds have been caught in the crevices of the rock, blown around by the wind, and you break up this grey with a little bit of green. So the hard edges of the rocks have been broken up by the greenery. Got to keep in mind though, some plants are a little bit trickier to walk over, like physically walk over. The nana plant doesn't have a nice model, so if the player were to step on a nana plant, their screen would probably shake. So I imagine that's exactly what would happen, so we don't really want that. But we got the Saruman. It's a nice big chunky plant, so what we'll do is we'll press T and then we'll press R. Okay, it's just a little thing, just a little thing. There we go. Terrain objects, we got nothing selected. I'd like something here as well. Now, the other thing we should probably keep in our mind is that anything that we like, if we put this here, this area here suddenly is not part of the path. This is the path. That area is now not part of the path. If we delete that, this whole area is now, like, the player can path up from the left or the middle or the right. If we put something in the way, visually, it just means the player is going to be pathing up from the right or the middle. We've kind of blocked this area off, even though it's not blocked. I mean, the player can do whatever they want. But we are definitely going to be doing this. And rocks are going to be informing a lot of our choices here, because I mean, it's a volcano. There's going to be a lot of loose rock, a lot of volcanic rock here. Probably pumice, to be honest. Pumice? What's that? Aerated rock. What your nana would use to scrape the corns off her feet. Do you know what a corn is? I don't, actually. But I know that's what they may have been used for. I don't know. I'm not liking this. Let's see. Just going to move it around until it feels right. So using T to transform. That's better. Using the R to rotate. That's a bit better. That's a bit better. So terrain and objects, got nothing selected. Go back to trees. Cocoa bush. These are actually so useful. So incredibly useful. Probably not so much here. But yeah, definitely like places where you wouldn't think. Like you want a bit of greenery. You can just drag the cocoa bush in. The sort of hitbox or the model of the cocoa bush is a little tricky. I can't remember if it's bigger or smaller in game. I think it might be bigger in game. So you have to kind of position it in such a way that the underside doesn't show, because the underside doesn't have a lot of detail on it. It's just a big box with a load of green on it. You want this stuff to show, but at the same time, yeah, it needs to be sort of further out than you think it does. And you got a nice big bit of greenery there. Oh, lovely. Lovely, lovely, lovely. But we got this here, I think. Can we squeeze another one in? We can. All right. There we go. So we'll shuffle this up, shuffle it down. Okay. So now, yeah, that area now is like almost completely blocked off. But this does look like, if we leave it clear and open, looks like a pathway up. Wow. That's amazing. It really is a thing. Speaking of which, let's drag a nana plant in. I like putting nana plants places where they shouldn't be. Nanas, obviously, obviously, everyone knows nana plants walk around. Well, do they walk around, or do they put feelers underground and then the plant top grows in different places? Yep, nice bit of greenery there. So as you're walking along, just like, oh, I'm minding my own business, glance over there, all right, carry on moving because there's stuff to explore there. But this suddenly becomes a bit of nature. We've got plant for interest. We've got this kind of way up. Okay, cool, this is working out. Terrain objects. But we want some more. We want it to feel like a forest, you see, a forest. All right, okay. So pine tree 3. In fact, pine tree 2, let's grab you. Because I want this whole area here to feel a bit more like forest. So you can come into there, drop you down, give you a rotate. All right. I think we're still going to peek over the top. We're not going to get away with not having that, which is fine. It's fine. And we'll do the same thing here as well. Now, the player doesn't need to necessarily access the trees because these trees aren't something they can cut down, and they're not really something that the player can interact with. But visually, suddenly, even with just 3 trees and a bit of rock offshore, suddenly you get the idea that this is like a woods as you're walking around the upper level. Neat. Cool. Speaking of which, this is kind of this is all right, but I think we need to push that back. So we'll hit terrain. We'll change the size of the brush down. There we go. Drag the mouse slider, move it to between W and E, and we got it set to lower. So tentatively left click. Okay, tentatively left click. Okay, that's fine. I don't want it to be super smooth along here. It doesn't need to be. But we can just sculpt in some detail. Right, okay. Let's level that off. Hit smooth height. Just fill in that hole along there. I don't want the player to break the legs. Oh, me legs. Alright, cool. So we go into objects. There is just one other thing to note. The more objects you have in the world, the weirder the camera is going to be. So when an object is near the camera slows down. If an object touches the camera, I'm just holding W. Yeah, we're just going super slow. As soon as we pass this, it's going to speed up, speed up, speed up. As soon as we're away from, there we go. As soon as we're away from the island, we go to our maximum speed. There is no constant velocity for the camera, which is a pain in the butt. So if you've got a lot of objects in an area, the camera keeps speeding up and slowing down. It looks like you've got a frame rate problem. You don't. It's literally just an eccentricity of the game. Okay, so what do we got going on here? Well, we're going to need to sort of advertise that this is way up. We got a way that way, which is nice. I want some rocks along here, though. Big rock 2, maybe? I mean, we've got smaller rocks down here, small rocks, which are fine, but I want to create paths, essentially. So, big rock 5. If we press T and just drag you in. Yeah, it's nice. Nice little pathway there. And over here, I'd like something along here. Do we... do we want to level this? So if we hit lower, check the amount slider, and just sort of drop this down a little bit. And smooth it off. There we go. It's a little bit better. Just visually, it's a little bit better. Only a little change, but, you know. We have to be a little bit careful. Now, with the build anywhere or no collision mod, no collision models just ignore rocks in terms of building, but people aren't running mods, you put a lot of rocks everywhere, and that's going to stop your building. So we'll still use them, but we'll have to use them sparingly along here, I think. So what we can do is rotate. I want a good edge. You are a good edge. Right, okay. And then rotate this so it's sort of a definite thing that we've got going on here. Just transforming it and then rotating. So I want to put some plants in here essentially. And then what we'll do is we'll just grab big rock 1, so it's slightly different rock. We will hit rotate, transform. Okay, cool. Then we can grab some smaller rocks. Small rock. Just a little small rock there. Nice. Okay, and then I'm going to hit terrain, and I'm going to hit raise and lower, raise, change the mount slider. Well, the mount slider's down, the size slider is what I'm looking at here. I'm just going to brush this up a little bit. It's going to be tricky because we can't really level everything because of all this behind it. So we'll try the tools that we have and just level this out as much as possible. So it looks like something slided. Yeah, no, slid is past tense of slide. Okay, cool. So we have this little thing here. So what we can do is go back to trees. Hello, trees. We need ficus tree 2. See what ficus tree 2 looks like. As we put it here, and then rotate it, and then tilt it back. So I want the branch to go over the path, which I believe we have successfully achieved. Nice, excellent. Rotate the back a little bit on the blue. Too many objects in the area. What happens is it starts snapping onto other rocks and things that are in the center of the camera. Okay, cool. That's pretty good. And that is not as tall. So you can look down. There you go. One of the things I really like about the trees as well is the fact that they create a bunch of shadows, which just adds a bunch of texture to the world. Moving texture as well, because at different times of day, you get these different, the shadows are in different positions, which is just wonderful. Wonderful. Right, ficus tree 1, this is a significantly smaller tree. I think we'll do this. Put you back here, T transform, drag you right down. I want you to rotate a little bit. Move you where there's no objects or anything. It's great because you're not likely to have the toggle snap onto something in the background. As soon as we've gone around the island once and just started adding stuff everywhere, boy, this toggle is going to jump around onto random things, and you're going to move stuff which you have no idea. You'll move something in the background and you'll have no idea you've done it. Don't worry, it's just something that happens. A curry right here. Yeah, it's a beautiful little place for a curry. Yeah, it is. Neat. It's almost as if it's like a little shop window with the trees here. Nice, excellent. Terrain objects, so we don't have anything selected, and we are going to ficus tree 2. I'm going to do the same thing here. So drop you in, and just have a little bit of green interest here. So let's see how to rotate. Can we do this in such a way that? Yeah, there we go. That's nice. It looks like there's 2 different tree models, even though there's only 1 tree model. And how tall is that? Terrain objects? That's an excellent question. We are going to go structures and grab Mr. Door. Door, there we go. So yeah, you are at no point going to smash your head into anything along here. Fine. Fine. So I'm kind of thinking we're going to need something along here as well, and in here. So definitely back to the trees. Aloe vera. It's kind of nice. Should probably add these. Probably add these plants later on. Just thinking about it. Why would you add the plants later on? That is an excellent question. It's to do with the resources. Do we put the resources in now, or do we put them in later? If we put them in later, we know exactly how many resources are on the island. If we put them in now, we have a better chance of blending them in with everything else. It's just a little curiosity, a little curious way of doing things. I tend to put stuff in later, but honestly, well, yeah, I think we can do it as we go along. Right, so we have this. We just put that in there, just to give this whole area a little bit more depth. And I think we can put some plants along here. So we go back to trees, and we got salmon. So what are we going to do? I'm on the big one. Big one. Good. So we just add some plants. I'm going to hit R to rotate. Just a little rotate. And then, yeah, maybe nothing here. I'm not entirely sure. The acacia, maybe? I don't know what happens if a player puts their feet on that. So we won't put anything there. Terrain objects, we've got nothing selected. Rocks, we'll go and grab a small rock instead. Small rock 1. And I will just put you here. T to transform. R to rotate. T to transform. C. That jumped onto something else. Ah, we just copied the wrong thing. Yeah, you got to keep an eye on that. I think that's why we had a bunch of like duplicate trees last time we made an island. So I've just made a couple of steps using the small rock, and you can see already it's just every time I let go it wants to snap onto something else. It's something of a pain in the butt, but that's okay, that's fine. I think we can also, while we're here, terrain objects. We'll go back to trees. And the other thing we can do is grab ourselves a palm. So where are the palms? Here they are. So we got 4 palms. You can put as many palms as you want. That palm there, it's visible. So we've got the top, no top. And then as soon as you get close, top pops in again. Don't worry about that. It will have a top in the game. The LED model is completely broken. That's the word I was going to use. Yeah, absolutely. So what we'll do is we grab palm tree, begins with P, has an A in it. There you go. And you can see the palm tree. It's not anywhere near as big as the pine, but as you're walking down here now, that breaks up visually that big old expansive beach as you wander down, so that's kind of neat. And I don't like putting palm trees by themselves, so what we'll do is we'll put a second one here, T to transform, drag it into the ground, R to rotate, give it a little spin. So we've gone from absolutely nothing to having a bunch of greenery here. It's beginning to look a lot like an actual living island. Weird, huh? Very strange. Good. Still feels a little bare here. I think just because the absolute scale of this place is going to feel... Maybe once you're actually in-game, it's going to feel much more lively. Alive. We've got a bunch of rocks. There's one thing I do want to see is if we can actually get a structure in here. I don't think we can, but I'm going to try it anyway. So we've got shipwrecks here. Shipwreck 6A. I'm going to put you on the beach. Old Bean. Let's see. Is there a place I can put you on the beach where we can just have you... Yeah, there you go. sort of upright. Can we have this, because I like the building on this, can we have this in any way on our island? Oh, maybe. Oh, maybe. Yeah, sort of. I do like using this as like a little house. Alright. There's a definite possibility that this could work. But I don't want it to look like a boat. So we're going to have to find a place for it. Here would be almost ideal. Oh, look at that. Okay. So we could... Nope, I really want you to be... Nope, I really need you to concentrate. Okay, cool. So yeah, we could have a little building along here, which would go with the metal work. That's kind of neat. Do we want it this way round, or do we want it the other way around? Other way around has a window on this side, and it does make sense that the window would be facing out to sea. There isn't a door there, which is kind of neat. Let's scooch outwards slightly. T to transform. Okay. Let's see if we can do this. Alright. I'm not entirely sure. I think you're going to have to not be here, old chum. Maybe we can put it here and then dress around it. That might be the better option. So T to transform, drag it out, rotate it. Transform. Yeah, I think along here is going to be the better option. And it gives players a reason to go along here as well. Alright. We're going to need to slightly modify the island that we have. We have selected things in the background. We could probably... Yeah, okay. So we drop that down. Terrain. Let's raise the terrain up. So we got raise, just eyeball the amount slider. And what we'll do is we will actually hit retrain paint height, set height. From there, change the amount slider up a bit. Read it again from slightly higher. It's better. That's better. Just paint it over. Now, is the bow going to poke out there? No. No. Good. So what we'll do is we'll raid from here. Because we can have a 2-story house. Are we getting too greedy? Maybe. Let's see. Play that back a little bit. Is that going to be enough for the player to get along the alongside? Yeah, because the door's on the other side. That's kind of annoying. Let's see. Yeah, probably. I think that's wide enough for the player to get through. Right, good. So we will raise height. Change this size down. Okay. And just be very careful about raising and lower it along here. Because I don't want the player to get their ankles stuck somewhere and then just be like, oh well. That's it for me. I'm the stuck boy now. Right, okay. I think you can walk along there. Good. Good. So we'll raise it along here as well. Let's raise you along here. Might be a little too quick in terms of like the brush. Smooth height. Yeah, just smooth this off. Smooth. Okay. And then set height. Okay. Retrain paint height. Left click on that ridge. And then just see if we can do this. Retrain paint height from slightly higher. There we go. There you go. There you go. A little better. I think it might be too greedy just to have both of those layers, so we could probably just keep the top. I think that might just be the best idea. I think. Yeah. So sometimes you got to try things. Does it work? It might. We can leave it for the time being and just see if it settles in our mind. We got a bit of weird terrain here though, so I'm going to smooth that off. There we go. There we go. And then we'll raise this up from here. There you go, that's hidden. Lower along here just so you can actually get away from here, and then raise just to cover any bits of obvious boat. Doot doot. There you go. There you go. So let's see. Yeah, not entirely sure. Read terrain paint height, click here, and just fill this in, I think. And then we'll lower it down. So we can only go as high as this area here. Well, what we'll do is we'll create another little plateau? Terrace. Another little terrace. There we go. Slide size up, and then I'm just going to push and hold and fill that in. So yeah, if you do something and it's like, this isn't working for me, I'm not entirely sure what is and isn't working, try something else. So let's see, does that look any better? I think it does. Yeah, I think it does. So we can just hit objects, lower that down. There you go. Yeah, that feels a bit better, doesn't it? I don't think there's a window on this side. Oh, there is a window on this side. We could have it rotated if we wanted. What would that look like? It would look like that. Which I think, if you are coming up here and you're looking, that might be that might be a little bit better. Okay, so the target value, no, wrong one. The amount slider, that's it. There we go. Just cover the bow of that boat. And now we have a little building. There, that's better. That's what we're looking for. So we'll just smooth this off around here, just real quick. This is very steep along here now, which isn't too much of an issue, but what I do want to do is retrain paint height, slightly lower down, and then just make another little path along the outside. Just a slightly lower path. There we go. And that should... It looks a little bit weird because that shadow. It's not as pinched as it could be. There we go. And then smooth height. And just smooth this off a little bit. Crank the amount slider up a little bit more than that. There we go. So that you can, in fact, run around the outside if you should so wish. Good, excellent. So we go to objects, we'll close that up. Now we've got another building there. We hit rocks, and we'll grab some big rocks. And what we'll do is we'll just make this path a little wider by using big rocks. Because if we don't do that, well, it'll still work as a path, it'll just feel a bit uncomfortable. So just do this. And then underneath, that's not too much of a problem down there. So we'll do that. We'll do this. Nice. Yeah, that works a bit better. That works a lot better, in fact. I just want to see the join. There doesn't appear to be too much of a gap, or any gap, in fact, between these two pieces. Good. Excellent. And then maybe another big rock over here. I'm just looking at the texture. And what I don't want to do is just have something that looks the same all the way around the outside. It's like, that rock and that rock look the same. Oh, they do, don't they? Oh, rotate at 180 degrees and they don't anymore. Right. So I'm going to close that gap up. There you go. So it does feel a little bit easier to walk along here. This might, once we exit and come back in, be a bit more polygonal, but I don't think it's going to be too bad. Can we hit up trees? And can we add some plants along here? Probably. A little ceremony. And then I think if we terrain lower the mount slider all the way down and just push in a little bit here, a little bit higher, just a little bit. Just a little bit. Come on. Come on. I know you can do it. Set height from here. Whoop. Retrain paint height. Boop. There we go. It's a bit better. And then just smooth it off. Cool. Cool, cool, cool. Objects. And then what we're going to do is grab ourselves a ficus. Ficus 2. Drop you in that little crevice that we've just made. Rotate you around. So we haven't obscured the path any, but what we've done is we've just put the ficus in such a way that it's now pushed into the cliff face without taking any of the path away. We'll go to rocks, and then we'll grab some small rocks. Small rock. Just grab you and drag you into the terrain a little bit. Rotate you a little bit. Ah, that's nice. Yeah. Kind of hard to see because of all the shadows and everything, but it's not. And then another rock here. T to transform. Wrong toggle. Move the camera to check the toggles. There we go. So just a couple of little rocks there. And then what we can do is go back to trees and throw an allocation in there as well. Okay. So cover up some of the grey with a bit of green. Rotate you, because I want that leaf to not be clipped into the rock. And then we got a little ceremony here. Do that. Yep. Again, rotate it so it's not obviously clipped into the rock. Okay, cool. So we got a bit of greenery going on there. We got a little house. We got some greenery. We got some stuff going on here. I think what we need to do, because that, I think it kind of looks like there's a hole in geometry, but there isn't. What we can do then is grab ourselves a wrong one. We're on physics objects. We need trees, and we want the cocoa bush. And what we can do is rotate the cocoa bush and transform it into gap under there. Neat. Okay, a bit more greenery there. So we have the start of what will be woods. Oh, but how much of a circle have we got? A fifth. I mean, this represents about a fifth of the external circle, and it's not dressed enough yet. We're going to need way more stuff here. Ooh, so we're using the smaller trees up on the higher slopes and the bigger trees on the lower slopes. We can go to trees, and we can go back to pines. We've got the pine tree 1. So 312, wasn't it? So we can do this. Grab you in. You rotate. Yep. And then transform. Let's transform it. So it's sort of moved in slightly. Cool. Good. Pine tree 2. Pine tree 2. Pine tree 3. So if we... yeah, 3 is slightly bigger than 1. Alright. Okay. If we do this... down into the dirt, give it a little rotate. Cool. So yeah, we can start creating ourselves little woods here. Pine tree 1. So 3, I think. Yeah, 3 is a small one. Double check that. Yeah, 3 is a small one. So we can use these up here. T transform. down as far as you can get away with it. Arts rotate. Nice. Then this guy on the beach, we will get rid of you. And we will go back to Pine Tree 1 and then put you here. T to transform. Arts rotate. Give it a little cant maybe. So it's kind of leaning slightly. Maybe do the same thing here. And here? Yep, why not? They want to grow vertically, but we can just add some variation in the verticality of these plants, these trees. So suddenly, this hillside is looking a bit more closed in, a bit more like a Rocky Mountain way. Anyway, we've done a lot, but it doesn't feel like we've done anything. I mean, this is going to take so much work to make it work, essentially. And we haven't done anything with the beach either. Oh, we need to do something down here, definitely. Anyway, so the video doesn't get too long. I'm going to leave it here for the time being. If you like this video, don't leave a little like, leave a subscribe. If you want notifications, dingle the bingle. If you don't want notifications, don't click the bell, and I'll tell you what, I'll catch you next time.